So what's the big deal with Hello World, right? Well, for starters, it proves the system. One of the great things about programming in general is you get to do something asynchronously with another person or group of people. Meaning, I don't have to say hello to 100 people as they walk in the door. I can write one program, and as they come through the door at their own time, they can get this message: "Hey, hello world," or "Hey, how you doing?" And so that's really like the big thing going on with programming is that we don't have to do the actions in time with the person requesting the actions. And computers are meant to make our lives easier. So the basic structure of all programs, this is the generic piece that you get whenever you create a new program following the instructions already given. This stuff down here should be deleted. It You might want to read it for the first little bit because it's kind of giving you some tips and insight. But realistically, for our programs, we're not going to need that for the work that we're ultimately going to do. So once you learn that stuff, just automatically delete it. And the same thing up here. We don't need that stuff. There was really no real information going on there. And so with programs, as we get going, we're going to do what's called a program header. And we put it in a comment span. And we'll talk about commenting here as we go along. There's a lot of little pieces here and there. And so your header goes up here. And what that is, that's going to be like the name, your name, the date in which you're finished, not when you started necessarily. I mean, they could be the same. Date you're finished, the description of the program, as well as a statement of academic integrity, and you'll find all that stuff online and linked for you. And so this here is the program. So it ignores what we call comments, and by default, those are going to be green in color. And everything in here is color-coded, actually. So what this means, pound include, means go out to the library and get a book. Because the language only knows a handful of things, and we're going to talk about a dozen or so words over the course of the year which it understands. But really what pound include is it says, hey, go out to the library and get me a book. And what library it's going to go to, these angle brackets say master library. So this is something that was shipped with the language. This is best of class sort of code. And the name of the book is called IOStream, and that stands for Input Output Stream. And what streaming means is like information flow. So I'm going to send stuff to the monitor, or I'm going to gather information from the keyboard. That's really what the IOStream library is for. It's included every time you start up a program, and you're probably always going to want it. All programs begin at main, and main has a return of an integer, even though we don't see any numbers here. It's just what the operating system is expecting. Again, remember, the operating system runs applications. We're writing applications. And what this in here is doing, so this is your scope operator, right? So using the curly brace defines scope. And this right here is the thing that's printing out hello world on the screen. So if we give this a run, we should get a little hello world over here and a bunch of other stuff. And it's like, okay, press any key to close. Cout, that's how we say that. Cout is C output. And we want to use that in the standard way. So this programming language is super symbol rich. This is a scope resolution operator, the double colon. And it says, it identifies where to find the thing. So where, standard, what, cout. So it says use cout in the standard way. And this is the stream insertion operator, the double left, which means take the information that you see here, follow this guide, throw it into cout. And this is called a string literal. Things between double quotes are called a string literal. And so whatever I type in here, it's going to print out, hello, welcome to the class, because we're all excited to be here, right? And this is an escape sequence, and we'll get into that here in a little bit. Escape N essentially means go to a new line. In C++, sentences, because it's a very declarative language, so we make statements. Sentences or declarations end with a semicolon, which is a common syntax error that people make. They forget to add their semicolon, or they add it where they shouldn't. And so if you don't include one, that's going to be a syntax error. If you include one where you shouldn't, you have the option of creating a logic error. You are more than welcome to put as many of those in at once. It doesn't do anything. It's not going to hurt anything by doing that. It's just incorrect in terms of programming hygiene is what I call it. Good writing style. So this is, and your programs are going to look like this. I mean, they're going to be longer. A lot of programs are about 20 to 50 lines of code. We'll work you up until by the end of the year you should be able to write a couple of hundred. But this is essentially the breakdown of it. Another big thing is we don't want to do standard colon all the time. There's an easier way to do that, and that's with namespaces. So I want you to do this after your includes, skip a line, then type in using namespace std. And that means use things in the standard way. And there are multiple namespaces. We'll look at one or two more later on in the year. But this is the basic way to get std in front of all your couts, and to make variables, as we're going to look into. You would grab information from the keyboard using cin. So this is C input, and this is stream extraction. Remember, this is stream insertion, this is stream extraction, and it's going to take from that input, the keyboard in this case, the standard way, into this chunk of memory that I just declared called I. And we're not really doing anything with it. All it's going to do is dump out to the screen the printing. It's going to wait for some sort of input from the keyboard. It has to be a number, the way I have that set up, or we'll throw an error. And that's it. That's your super basic cout, cin, basic structure of a program.